I'm Brad Levitt, president of AFT Construction. If you are a contractor, are into design or architecture, this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, that way those notifications come through every time we post a new video. Okay, so we're standing here, you can see here that this is our propane tank. So when you're thinking of a lot to purchase, or the client is, and you're working through that pre-construction, it's real important to understand what utilities you have to deal with. Some municipalities, some lots of land that they'll purchase already have utilities from the developer up to the site themselves, and some don't. And it could be rural, so you may work with a well. Even here in Scottsdale and Phoenix, we deal with all of those different scenarios. So it's real important to sit down with your architect and your engineers, especially your civil engineer, from the beginning to understand what are the costs associated with this lot, especially as you're counseling or consulting your client. When they're thinking about purchasing a lot, they need to understand, do they have to pay for a septic tank? Do they have to pay for propane because there's no gas, no sewer to the house? Electrical typically is nearby, at least for us where we're at. Do they have water to the house? Does there need to be a well? And then from there, you have to really understand, meet with the utility companies to understand, okay, per plan it may show that they do have utilities to the lot, but we found in most cases that I wouldn't say most cases, but in some cases they've been abandoned or they're being used for other neighbors, and we have to have tie-ins to other parts of the development, which can increase the cost for the client. In this case specifically, we do have power running through the lot, but the utility company had that spec for the neighbors. They wanted us to come across the street. Well, you have to consider the cost to now trench across the street, repair the street, you know, the traffic control that has to do with cutting into the street, and then of course where it comes on the property. So make sure you understand those costs and what is there on the lot, and then make sure you're doing your due diligence to get some preliminary budgets, because the last thing you want to do is commit to a client that you're going to have $5,000 for utility tie-ins and it ends up being $25,000. So now as we walk around, another thing that's important for trenching, you need to understand on this house, on this layout, okay, well, we know that we have utilities we're bringing in, or we're bringing in sewer and propane. Well, in correlation to the house, what side of the house are we putting it on? Because that'll change the run and the utility trenching. So there was a lot of strategy here in this house. You can see on the side is where we put the SES electrical panel and the main water. Again, natural light is super important for our client in their garage space. So although this is tinted and you can't see through for the privacy, it does bring natural light into the garage, which is always nice, and you can see windows along the side. And then here's our SES panel, along with our AC condensing units and our main water. So another thing to consider when you're putting in your utilities, well, you have to have access. So with a propane tank that needs to be refilled, if you have a septic tank that has to be emptied, you want to make sure you have access for the trucks that come in, as well as have it hidden in the landscape. So although it seems here in the front of the house, the main walkway is going to be over here, this is on me decorative landscape, and that's going to be hidden. So that way as clients and guests come through, they won't see the tie in there for propane and septic.